Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 5th school committee meeting. Take a roll call vote to start the meeting. Ms. Roach. Present. Mr. Conroy.
Here.
Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Catalano.
Present.
No teacher representative. Student representative. Hello, Josh. Jody, do we have anybody sign in for open session? No. All right. We have a team of young ladies here that we are very excited to welcome to the meeting tonight. The state champion Millis girls varsity soccer team is here, so I'll send it to Nancy. We'll talk to you guys first. Congratulations, first of all.
Congratulations. And you can all come up here in front. We are
Can I take a picture?
thrilled to have you here tonight and thrilled to have watched your magnificent play during your season. Coach, you too, please.
Come on, Coach.
So we hear that the selectmen beat us to it and that you attended their meeting, which is great because probably more people are watching their meeting than ours. But I think you all exemplified just tremendous character, hard work, sportsmanship, and all the things that we love to celebrate here in the Millis Public Schools. And then on top of it all, you won the state championship. So congratulations. We'd like to give you all a certificate of recognition for your contributions. So we'll kind of go through and...
They're alphabetical, so maybe if you could call their name because they're not all here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kayleen Adams, Sydney Balin.
Start at the end.
There, Sydney.
Congratulations.
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 Taylor Davis.
Good job, Josh. I like it. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Taylor. Riley Donovan. Jordan Ferrantino.
None.
Kaylee Francis. Okay. Catherine Gavoni. I saw Kat.
Got the hardware.
2 meetings in a row.
Congratulations.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Megan Hurrigan.
Basketball.
Oh, basketball, yeah. Grace Jewett. Congratulations, Grace. Jennifer Kraus.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jennifer.
Congratulations.
And Jessica Kraus.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, there you go.
We're going to move these.
I'll
Here, I'm going to
move
move
these
them
back.
back here.
And Julia Kraus. You're not all related, right?
Congratulations.
And Brooke Moriarty.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Brooke. And Chara Moynihan. Ciara. Okay. Aaron Mendy.
Not here.
Casey O'Toole.
Not here.
Tessa Sanchioni. I saw Tessa.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tess.
Congratulations.
Madison Sherns. Yeah.
Congratulations.
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 Paulini Smith.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Bethany Steiner.
Not here.
No. Alexi Valancourt. Kylie Valancourt. I saw Kylie.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kylie. Cheyenne Whalen.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Cheyenne. Coach Steve Balin. And Coach
Congratulations.
Cam Balin.
He's not here.
I'll let you take that for him.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks.
Olivia's not here either.
And also Assistant Coach Olivia Zatoli. So, yeah, you want to get those to the girls? We'll get these. Do you want? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Would you like to say anything about your season coach or any spokespeople?
I think just on behalf of the entire team, the assistant coaches and myself, greatly appreciate the school committee taking the time to recognize the ladies for a job well done on the field, all their accomplishments, and off the field as well too. Take pride in giving back to the community, and they read to the 3rd and 4th grade class, purchased books, read the books, spent some time with the 3rd and 4th graders. Some of the got autographs.
So cute.
It was great.
Before or after the title? Even better.
That's so cute.
I poked my head in some of the classrooms, and towards the end of reading some of the books, teacher would ask the kids, do you have anything you want to ask the players, any soccer questions, life questions? And Cheyenne, Taylor, and Kara Monahan, they started addressing some life questions and everything. So, it was a coach, parent, proud moment, the way they handled that. But, I think it's important, totally giving back all the time to the community. So, I just want to thank everyone once again for honoring the ladies here.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
So if we could, we'll get a picture with everybody.
So why don't we just leave them there? Why don't we just go
Oh,
over
you
there?
guys want to stay there?
Trophies right here on the table. We'll move the water. Huh?
I'll go down. Wait, you might be below the table though. Wait, oh boy. Are we kneeling? Because we need to square. Yeah, we're gonna kneel. But then we're just do it.
A little bit together, a little bit more.
I'm just like gonna like go very awkwardly and smile.
Carry on to the, yeah, wait. Good, I can see you. Okay, perfect. 1, 2, 3. And again, wait a minute. Whoops. And then 1, 2, 3. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Now back to homework.
Oh, huh?
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much, everyone.
I like it. Excellent.
First person kind of stuttered when they were walking by, so just reached
They're
out.
like,
One thing I neglected to do was to announce that the meeting is being recorded. It can be viewed on Mondays at 7 p.m. on Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 37. All meeting videos are also posted to the Millis Public Schools website under School Committee. I apologize in the excitement of having the ladies champions here. I neglected to do that. So we will start with, let's do student representatives. Josh, so that.
There's not much to report on today, but one thing is the Millis Drama Club had tryouts for their Shrek play. The high school one was last Thursday, and then the middle school one is tonight. And then the play will be going on next March, the 16th, 17th, 23rd, and 24th. And then not only did the soccer team win a state championship, but the varsity men's football or boys football team also won a state championship. And then Amnesty Immigration, there's an Amnesty run immigration simulation this Monday, which is the 4th. It was yesterday. And so pretty much what that was is run by the Amnesty Club. Anyone who had time and wanted to go would go down, and they go through the process of someone who wants to immigrate into the country and become a citizen, and to show how difficult it is and what goes into it. It was a very cut down process, obviously, because we can't fit a whole immigration process into a school day, probably, even. And then one more thing is tomorrow, Wednesday, December 6th, is a half day.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, so we'll move to our action items. Consideration to approve the 11/21 school committee meeting minutes.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano.
I make a motion to approve the November 21st, 2017 meeting minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Okay, motion carries. Second, we have readings of policies, continuation from last time. So we have a consideration to approve the third reading of revised policy number 1.16, equal educational opportunities.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano.
I make a motion to do the third reading of the 1.16 equal access to education policy. Non-discrimination.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano.
I'd like to do the third reading of the 1.16 equal access to education non-discrimination.
Thank you.
Millis Public Schools has the responsibility to overcome, insofar as possible, any barriers that prevent children from achieving their potential. The public school system will do its part. This commitment to the community is affirmed by the following statements that the school committee intends to: 1, promote the rights and responsibilities of all individuals as set forth in the state and federal constitutions, pertinent legislation, and applicable judicial interpretations. 2, encourage positive experiences and human values for children, youth, and adults, all of whom have differing personal and family characteristics and who come from various socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic groups. 3, work with a more integrated society and to enlist the support of individuals as well as groups and agencies, both private and governmental, in such an effort. 4, use all appropriate communication and action techniques to air and reduce the grievances of individuals and groups. 5, carefully consider in all decisions made within the school system the potential benefits or adverse consequences that those decisions might have on the human relations aspects of all segments of society. 6, initiate a process of reviewing policies and practices of the school system in order to achieve to the greatest extent possible the objectives of this statement. The committee's policy of non-discrimination will extend to students, staff, the general public, and individuals with whom it does business. No person shall be excluded from or discriminated against in admission to a public school of any town or in obtaining the advantages, privileges, and courses of study of such public school on account of race, color, sex, gender identity, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, disability, or homelessness. If someone has a complaint or feels that they've been discriminated against because of their race, color, sex, gender identity, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, or disability, their complaint should be registered with the Title IX compliance officer. Third reading, December 5th, 2017.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Conroy.
I make a motion that we adopt policy 1.16, equal access to education, non-discrimination.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to adopt policy number 1.16, equal educational opportunities, non-discrimination. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next one we have is the consideration to approve the third reading of revised policy number 1.16.2, equal educational opportunities.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Conroy.
I make a motion that we do the third reading of revised policy 1.16.2, equal education opportunities.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the third reading of revised policy number 1.16.2, equal educational opportunities. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Catalano.
The third reading of 1.16.2, extracurricular activities, equal access, equal educational opportunities. In recognition of the diversified characteristics and needs of our students and with the keen desire to be responsive to them, the school committee will make every effort to protect the dignity of the students as individuals. It will also offer careful consideration and sympathetic understanding of their personal feelings, particularly with reference to their race, color, sex, gender identity, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, disability, or homelessness. To accomplish this, the committee and its staff will make every effort to comply with the letter and the spirit of the Massachusetts Equal Educational Opportunities Law, which prohibits discrimination in public school admissions and programs. The law reads as follows. No child shall be excluded from or discriminated against in admission to a public school of any town or in obtaining the advantages, privileges, and courses of study of such public school on account of race, color, sex, gender identity, religion, national origin, or sexual orientation, disability, or homelessness. This will mean that every student will be given equal opportunity in school admission, admission to courses, course content, guidance, and extracurricular and athletic activities. All implementing provisions issued by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education in compliance with this law will be filed. Third reading, December 5th, 2017.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Conroy.
I make a motion that we adopt policy 1.16.2, extracurricular activities, equal access, equal educational opportunities.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt policy 1.16.2, extracurricular activities, equal access, equal educational opportunities. Further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Conroy.
I just want to note the change in this policy and the one we did is just adding disability or homelessness to protected classes.
Any additional discussion? All those in excuse me, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And last on the policy list for tonight is consideration to approve the third reading of revised policy number 4.22, physical restraint of students.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano.
I make a motion that we conduct the third reading of the policy 4.22, physical restraints of students.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consideration to approve the third reading of revised policy number 4.22, physical restraint in students. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano.
third reading of 4.22, physical restraint of students. Maintaining an orderly, safe environment conducive to learning is an expectation of all staff members of the Millis Public Schools. Further, students of the district are protected by law from the unreasonable use of physical restraint. Such restraint shall be used only in emergency situations as a last resort and with extreme caution after other lawful and less intrusive alternatives have failed or been deemed inappropriate. When an emergency situation arises and physical restraint is the only option deemed appropriate to prevent a student from injuring himself or herself, another student or school committee member, a teacher or employee or agent of the school district may use reasonable force needed to protect students, other persons, or themselves from assault or imminent serious physical harm. The definitions of forms of restraint shall be defined in 603 CMR 46.02. The use of mechanical restraint, medication restraint, and seclusion is prohibited. The use of prone restraint, except as permitted under 603 CMR 46.03, or any physical restraint in a manner inconsistent with the regulations at 603 CMR 46.00 is also prohibited. Physical restraint shall be considered an emergency procedure of last resort and shall be prohibited except when a student's behavior poses a threat of assault or imminent serious physical harm to themselves and or others, and the student is not responsive to verbal directives or other lawful and less obtrusive behavior interventions are deemed inappropriate. The superintendent will develop procedures identifying appropriate responses to student behavior that may require immediate intervention, methods of preventing student violence, self-injurious behavior, and suicide, including crisis planning and de-escalation of potentially dangerous behaviors among groups of students or individuals, descriptions and explanations of alternatives to physical restraint, as well as the school's method of physical restraint for use in emergency situations, descriptions of the school's training requirements, follow-up procedures, and procedures to comply with reporting requirements, including but not limited to making reasonable efforts to orally notify a parent of the use of restraint on a student within 24 hours of its imposition, and sending written notices to the parents within 3 school working days. Procedures for receiving and investigating complaints regarding restraint practices, methods for engaging parents in discussions about restraint prevention and the use of restraint solely as an emergency procedure, procedures for conducting periodic review of data and documentation on the use of restraint as required by the regulations, and the use of timeout as a behavioral support strategy, including a process for obtaining approval from the principal or his or her designee for a timeout exceeding 30 minutes. Each building principal will identify staff members to serve as school-wide resources to assist in ensuring proper administration of physical restraint. These staff members will participate in an in-depth training program and in the use of physical restraint. In addition, each staff member will be trained regarding the school's physical restraint policy and accompanying procedures. The principal will arrange training to occur in the first month of each school year, or for the staff hired after the beginning of the school year within a month of their employment. Physical restraint is prohibited as a means of punishment or as a response to the destruction of property, disruption of school order, a student's refusal to comply with the school rule or staff directive, or verbal threats that do not constitute a threat of imminent serious physical harm to the student or others. Physical restraint is prohibited when it is medically contraindicated, thank you, as previously documented by a licensed physician. The use of timeout procedures during which staff continuously observe and remain immediately available to the student shall not be considered seclusion restraint. This policy and its accompanying procedures shall be reviewed and disseminated to staff annually and made available to the parents of enrolled students. The superintendent shall provide a copy of the physical restraint regulations to each principal, who will sign a form acknowledging receipt thereof.
Thank you for doing all the reading.
Not a problem.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Conroy.
I make a motion that we approve policy 4.22, physical restraint of students.
Second?
So moved and seconded to approve policy number 422, physical restraint of students. Further discussion?
Yes. Madam Chair, Nancy, has all of the training for all of the staff that's required, was it completed within the first month of this school year?
Yes, we have a crisis management team that is trained in safety care, and they are the responders to any situation in schools, so they receive the training in de-escalation and restraint if it's ever needed. It's been rare. We haven't needed to use restraint in a very long time. The staff is trained in the policy and the procedures, and they sign off on that at the beginning of the year during our mandated training.
So the crisis team that will actually administer any sort of physical restraint, we're all trained within the first month of the school year?
They get in-depth training, and that does not necessarily occur during the very first month of the school year. They are recertified every year, and they are the responders. The entire staff is made aware of and receives the policies and mandated trainings within the first month of the school year.
Okay. All right. As long as we're in compliance with the policy.
That's clear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We'll move to time and learning.
Yes, Madam Chair, it is my pleasure to congratulate and welcome Patsy Diver this evening. And along with the library update that Patsy will give us, we are recognizing her tonight for her Mass Literacy Champions Award and accompanying monetary grant for the schools that she will speak to us about how she will be using, she and her team will be using. But Patsy has been honored and will receive $1,000 in grant money. She is considered a mass literacy champion and was attended a ceremony this past weekend at Barnes & Noble in the Prudential Center.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very exciting. There's the not middle check.
Oh, good. I'm like, you're a champion. Did you get a medal or?
Doesn't fit in the ATM. There's a lot of things that come up with that. And we've been very busy. That it was a real surprise. But the end result is, the reason we got it was that I explained that one of the things we love about our library is that it's always encouraged reading. You know, but I've been doing that from elementary school through high school, and we have a really solid, great Millis middle school book group, which is meeting next week, and in a collaborative with the public library. But what happens when we get to the high school is that it gets a little dropped down, and we have morning book group sessions that work well, but the interest isn't gone. It's just the kids are tied up with everything between sports and jobs and after-school plays and whatnot. It gets really a time to figure out what you're going to do with it. So the grant that I wrote and requested was the fact that I wanted to create a school library teen council, which would have a buy-in to learning how to look for book information, how to order books, and how to use part of a budget to decide different materials that would go into the classes, into the library, but also, getting connections with their friends and people. What do you want to see? And learn about, we have a collection policy, so you have to follow how that is going to go and what's appropriate and what isn't. But in addition to that, they're going to have teen events. We have a Reconnected with Bellingham's Barnes & Noble, so we've already got things for the works for a teen night or something to that event. And they're talking about a Comic-Con, which I'm not really sure it's all about, but we're going to be doing something like that. They're all excited. I said, well, maybe there's even money for furnishings, because I'm not really sure what the parameters of the grant included. The guys are coming up to me, Mrs. Stewart, so I thought if we move these chairs here and we put this here, I said, we'll focus first on the books and then we'll see what we can get for the furniture. But we have about a dozen kids that are involved. We're having our next meeting this Friday morning. They're great. It's nice to see the enthusiasm. It's open to all high school students. We keep getting a few more. I talked the other day to the middle school staff meeting, because it's also open to 7th and 8th graders, older kids that might want to buy into this idea too. But it certainly covers that voice and choice and get them enthusiastic and interested, and hope to keep ideas going as well. So it's exciting, and I'm proud to be there. I don't know everything that's about the organizer, the director of the organization, Mass Literacy, is Julie DeFrancesco, who is also the newspapers and education person for the Boston Herald. So we also have our tie-in with our possibly working out a visit for her to come down and talk to our students on the Mohawk Coast, which is coming out in a couple weeks, and which would also give them the opportunity to be student writers. So there's a lot of good connections there, and I'm really honored to be here and be part of it. And I wanted to conclude, not necessarily just with mine, but I didn't realize there wasn't a teacher rep. Can I just do a couple plugs for Jeff? You did everything covered, but we do have a couple of, we have Global Goods here on Friday in the library that's going to be supporting, Common Ground and such.
We have a new social justice group starting that Ms. Neville and Ms. Yamba are doing. And we're gonna, like I said, have our, the upcoming events are including middle school concerts and high school concerts that are coming down. But it's a very busy time, and I'm so proud to be part of it and part of this whole, it was certainly a weekend of events for, between the Nutcracker and the football games and the soccer games and everything. We've had a really good showing, so thank you for your time. Glad to be able to be offering something back to Millis again. That's it. Any questions? I'll give you time.
Patsy, haven't you had a couple authors in residence
Oh, we did.
already so far?
We had Ridley Pearson came in last fall, and we have a really nice connection with Wellesley Books, and we were able to bring him in for the 5th and 6th grade. I have a couple more grants out there, hoping to bring in additional authors. One of the things that we work with is to try to get local authors, or not local, Ridley Pearson was a pretty big name, to come in and meet with the kids on a very close-up, in-person way. And some of the people that we've had in the past and have been expressing interest to come back, like Julie Berry and Justin Hansen, are also interested in doing some hands-on workshops with the kids. So I find it amazing. Of course, I had been looking for Nancy Drew's author to come in, and I don't think that would have happened ever. But they really get excited with that, and we will be having, in December, we'll have sign-ups for a writer's workshop that is held in the library after schools for the middle school, and the kids get involved in it. But the high school Mohawk Post newspaper is doing great. We're very grateful to be able to have a fundraiser bake sale at the Nutcracker, and we'll now be able to have some more newsprint editions coming out. Our co-editors are Emily Miga and Justin Matthews, and we have new co-editors who are coming up the lines, Anna Pasquantonio and Madison Schofield, and they'll be working hand in hand to sort of make that transition. But as far as taking pictures, so that they'll be in that paper too. But it's been a really active year and very busy with a lot going on. I'm just glad to be this. This grant will add to the enthusiasm of the council, and hopefully, more events that will include everybody and be, promoting literacy and reading in the library, what we can. So, thank you.
Thanks so
Ricky
much.
Pearson.
Congratulations.
I have like 15 of his
Well,
books.
you should have read the handouts and were saying, come and get
That
your
was
book.
a big get.
Yes,
Good
it
for
was.
you.
Yeah.
Well,
Congratulations
actually,
for that,
that
and
one.
this one.
See, this is where we are so lucky to have connections with Wellesley Books, to have Jeff Kinney's bookstore, which also has Reach Out, to have Barnes & Noble, which does Reach Out. There's a lot of ways to get people to come into schools without having to put up large stipends. Ours is more like trying to get people to buy the books, but it does,
That's good,
because we were very happy. We're excited about it. And we've had a few others, so we're trying to see what's going to be coming down the line next. But this teen council's exciting too, so we're having everything coming up. Anything we can make and promote our library will do.
Congratulations.
Great.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks so
Patsy.
much. Okay.
Should we do Bob next?
Yes. 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 Perfect. Yep. So we will do the chairman's report. We have Bob Weiss here with us tonight from the Millis Energy Committee. I think I saw another member with him. Tim Farrar, also on the Energy Committee, joining us tonight.
And Madam Chair, in your purple packets is a handout from Mr. Weiss and the committee.
Thank you both for coming.
Good evening.
How are you?
Hello.
Thank you very much. Let me start out by first asking if you have correct packet. It's one sheet. It should have,
The Excel? The
Yeah.
It's
Excel?
Excel at
Yeah.
bottom of it or above that green line there, which is inconsequential. Above that, there should be a list of projects on the left. I think 3 of them on the left and 6 of them on the right.
Yep.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure. I thought I sent it over. I was looking at it tonight at the same spreadsheet, and it was all, and I tried to reprint it, and it was all compressed and didn't make any sense at all. So, thank you very much. And tonight, oh, good, good, thank you. As you, I'm sure know, we are a green community and have been so since 2015. And in being a green community, of course, we receive funding from the Department of Energy Resources, the Green Communities Division, and we use that funding to reduce this town's energy consumption. And if we do a good job of that and use all the money correctly and do indeed reduce our energy consumption, we get qualified for more. And last night the Board of Selectmen adopted our annual plan, which we're our annual report, which we're required to send into the Department of Energy Resources. And it's nice to know we had a 12% reduction in energy consumption since our base year. That's not adapted to the, or adjusted for weatherization, probably more in the 5 or 6% category, but still it's a pretty good reduction first time around. Our goal is to get 20% in the first 5 years, I think. Yeah. So we had some energy audits, townwide energy audits done just recently. They looked at all the facilities, the town's buildings, and the school, this building. We have already had audits done from about 2 or 3 years ago. And from these audits, we got a number, it was just to get a number of projects or energy conservation measures that we can take, and we can get them, hopefully get money from DOER in order to pay for these projects. There's 14 projects on this list in front of you. And as you can see, there's a number of columns, which I think the important columns here, really, you'll see some rankings of those projects. We took a look at the projects and how an investment would return in energy savings, which is measured in MMBTUs. And we looked at both the number of MMBTUs we could save on a project and ranked them, and then we looked at the MMBTUs saved per dollar, so ranking them. And as you see, we have looked at different kinds of rankings. But the important thing is right now we're going through this process of figuring out what projects we would like to invest in the upcoming competitive round. This will be our first time. In the designation round, we originally got $151,000. So that allowed us to do 8 projects. One of the projects, of course, was here in the middle school for the walk-in freezer. And we had new controls, and hopefully that's going to save about somewhere around
$800 something
is that what I said? $800 a year, something like that.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of projects that we like to see. We, of course, are more, being the energy community, is more concerned with seeing not so much the money saved as with greenhouse gases and carbon carbon emissions saved. However, there's a pretty good direct correlation between saving energy and saving money. So in this round, as I said, we have about 14 projects here. Some of them are new projects. Some are old from the old energy audit as well. The town staff is looking at which projects we're going to go ahead and proceed with. I'm working very closely with the energy, the Townwide Energy Committee, which Tim is here representing. And we'd like to get similar participation from the schools, because there's some good projects here to choose from. We're hoping to get $200,000 to $250,000 this time. So there's some larger projects that we might be able to do. Last time with the designation project, we got $151,000, but most of that went into the streetlights. And with that streetlights, just to give you an example, with that streetlight investment, we replaced 436 streetlights. We found, which is every streetlight in town, and we are seeing now, after 4 months, we're seeing a 70% reduction in the energy used to light the town's streets. So, and as of 4 months, we looked at the savings. It's $5,600 in savings. So, it's a pretty good investment. So that's what we're looking for. Next time, we're looking at a lot of different projects, and more involved projects. And so we'd like to ask the Energy Committee, or the School Committee, if they would be able to send a representative, either from the staff or from the committee, to our Energy Committee meetings. The next one is going to be actually this coming Monday. But we have one a month, and try to communicate what's going to be going on. And I think the next round will be in, usually it's in February, it might be in March. They're talking about a springtime round, so we've got some time to work on these.
Questions? Thank you. So of the list from the top, are the ones that are on the bottom, so with in the top table, the total of the 14?
Yes.
Have you already gone through an initial prioritization of the ones that you think are the most beneficial, or is it still premature?
Yeah, it's still premature.
Okay.
These are we just took a look at these and rated them just by the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. So nothing is set in stone yet. We haven't begun to write the grant yet. It hasn't even been put out yet.
And also, if I may, Madam Chair, a clarifying question, and for the viewing public. So these projects are completely funded through grant monies and at no cost to the town or the schools?
We hope to work it out that we will get money, for instance, we'll get money from the grant, we'll get money from energy rebates from Mass Save, and maybe we'll be able to pick up another grant here or there. With the street lights, I think it was $141,000. Most of that was funded, I think about $90,000 was funded through the Green Communities Program. Another $28,000 came from the state's what's called Rapid Retrofit Program, and the rest was funded by the energy, the utilities and their rebate. So I don't want to say it's free money, but it's pretty much wholly funded by grants and rebates.
So I heard the request for a rep from the schools to attend the Energy Committee meetings. That's something that we can talk through and figure out who the best person is.
Yep.
I see
And
John.
you eat once a month?
Yes.
Okay.
First or second Monday of the month.
Okay. First or second?
First or second.
Okay.
Yeah. And our next list is at the 11th, so it's a week from today is our next meeting.
No, yesterday. We had Mondays, right? Today's Tuesday.
I'm sorry, from yesterday. Right, today's Tuesday.
It's been a long day.
It's been 2 long days in a row.
Yeah, so, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, one question.
Yeah.
Just because I know there's the whole capital planning committee and I don't know if any of these projects, upgrades, are also on the list that the capital planning committee is looking at, only from the guys, that if it is, maybe that helps prioritize. Like if something of these 14 is also on our list of,
So I believe some of this, or at least some of the lighting upgrades is on our list for schools, so we need to coordinate when we do this, just so if we're going to if we're going to put forward a lighting upgrade or something that the Energy Committee may be working on our capital plan list to go to the Capital Planning Committee, we should probably, I don't know how we're going to all sync together, but we need to somehow do that.
right, and also if it's, you know, and if I just look at the lighting, it's like 7 and 9, so I don't know how many, but maybe the fact that it's on the capital plan and it's already on a list of things that are being acknowledged needs to be upgraded, updated, replaced, maybe that there's a little bit of extra weight on that versus in addition to just what the savings is.
The only thing is I don't even know if this is all funded through grant money, then it wouldn't necessarily have to go through capital planning.
No, it wouldn't, but if we can kind of
But
identify,
knock
we
it
can
off of
take
our
it off
list,
your list
so, yeah,
because
yeah,
we do it
yeah.
here, then
Or it should be there should be a comprehensive capital plan, and then there's a funding source, right? So some of the funding source would be grant monies, or so we identify everything we need.
Right. It's just that we wouldn't necessarily put one of the lighting upgrades. So to take a step back, the purpose or the plan for the Capital Planning Committee, we're going to have to put forth our top, 5% of projects or
So
something.
you're not producing a master plan for
We need
every.
to produce a master plan for us so we can
Okay.
manage it, and then bring forward,
that
here's
makes
our
sense.
top priorities.
Okay.
And then the Capital Planning Committee is going to then prioritize from the different sources in town what the top priorities
So
of the
we
town
wouldn't move
are.
forward something that potentially could be funded through a grant or
Correct.
some other program. It's something we need to do, but for our purposes, not for the purpose of this grant, is we push forward stuff that we need to try to get money from the town.
Correct.
Okay.
So I think the missing piece right now on the Energy Committee is actually schools. Everybody else, I believe, is represented on the Energy Committee in some way. So like capital planning, like the chair of capital planning actually sits on the Energy Committee
Mhm.
as well.
Yep.
So I think
That's right.
I think the bring it together and ensure we're doing the right thing is exactly what Bob asked for tonight, which is picking someone from the schools to sit on the Energy Committee, so that as they have those conversations, that we can give that feedback of, okay, that's our number one, so if you guys can get that funded,
Perfect.
that would
Yeah.
be our preference from a school's perspective, and then we know not to put it up on the capital plan. So, I'm guessing you don't need a rep person tonight, but we
Correct.
will, we will commit to finding the right person to be able to come to the meetings. Because it's great work you guys are doing, it's definitely beneficial to the entire town and plus to the schools, so. Would love to make sure that our input, we can give it to you directly at those meetings on what we're looking to accomplish. So,
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
also, Mr. Weiss and I have chatted about something that I just applied for today called Project Green Lights 2017. We did receive funding for this for Clyde Brown, I think it was in 2010. And at the time, it was a $5,000 grant to upgrade lighting. So this time around, it's $50,000. And I applied today for the middle high school. And we'll see, it's a simple application. We'll find out on January 3rd, so that also might be beneficial. But and we'll also see what kind of lighting upgrade that $50,000 funds. They don't provide those details yet, but it's through Northeast Electrical Distributors, and it's a $50,000 in Sylvania energy efficiency lighting products for your school. So we'll coordinate with Mr. Weiss on that.
Great. Other questions? Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Chair, before we move on to the next agenda item, just looking for an update on when we could expect the solar energy report on what's occurred and the money. I wasn't trying to dump it onto you, Mr. Weiss.
I remember last time I was here, we mentioned that. I have it on my list of things to do.
No, I understand. You have a very
So
busy
it'll-
schedule.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little while, but it is there in the works. I'm as interested in knowing about it as you are.
Okay.
One of the glitches in the report is, I think you may be aware, in April, the system went down. The rooftop system here went down. It was a blown transformer, something very unusual. They don't have transformers like that anymore. Took until, I think it was October, September, October, for them to actually replace it and get it working again.
I was not aware of that.
So it's a little difficult to compare, give you a good year-to-year comparison, but we can certainly tell you what the savings were. I have figured out what the savings missed came to. There was about, I think I actually have that information here somewhere. Yeah, there's a guarantee in the solar contract for the guarantee is for 171,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. In 2016 fiscal year, 173,600 is what the system generated. In 2017, it generated only 108, so 108,000. So that difference of 60-some thousand kilowatt hours comes at, I think it's 8 cents per hour. It comes to about $5,400 that the school ends up paying that it shouldn't. So we have sent a letter, an initial letter to the developer, to the owner of the system, and so we haven't heard back for some reason. So we're going to send we're going to probably have town council send a
Were we aware that the transformer blew? Like, how long did it take to determine
I
this?
found out about a week after it went out, because I look at it on a weekly basis. And I noticed it and mentioned it, the developer did not notice. You would think the developer would, because the developer is making money off of this.
Sure.
They have a lot of systems, and I imagine they just, somebody hadn't gotten up the ladder yet. And it took them a while to replace this transformer, quite a while. They sent in the wrong transformer, they had to have it custom made, because they don't make them anymore. So anyhow, we've had the system since October of 2014, I think, right? So I'll be able to, go back and get all the numbers together, and I will get something to you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bob.
You're welcome. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bob.
Okay, thank you. For the superintendent's report in your purple packets, you have 3 blue sheets. They're actually blue this time for our new hires. We are pleased to announce the appointment of Andrew Town as our 3/4 time custodian. He will begin next Monday. Andrew has been a custodian at Clean Pro for several years and has been a security guard, and we look forward to him joining us and keeping the ball rolling in terms of addressing cleanliness in the schools. Lauren Denmark has been hired, and she started yesterday as our .5 ESL ELL teacher. Lauren has a Bachelor of Arts from Hobart and William Smith Colleges, a Master of Arts in Teaching from Simmons College, and a CAGS degree from I forget which school, but so she's got a lot of expertise. She's been a fourth grade teacher, long-term substitute, and many years prior to that teaching some of it in kindergarten in Natick and overseas in Hong Kong. Sarika Jain is our special education long-term substitute at Millis High School, which is a .6 position. She has a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Education from Annamalai University in India and a Master of Education from University of Mass Boston. She's had several long-term maternity leave substitute positions in special education and has also taught in the Framingham Public Schools in special education and social studies. So we welcome Sarika. I'd also like to ask April Yu to join us for a brief budget update. You have in your purple folders an updated memo with some additional information, and we provided you with the updated sheets for your budget books that show the actual expenditures column for FY17, which is, those columns are very useful as we develop next year's budget.
Good evening.
Hi,
April. Thank you for giving me this time to showcase this FY17 budget report. Good news is we balanced the budget by 19 cents, so you have very much to the ball. So FY17 annual report is done and uploaded to DESI's security portal October 27th, so we're ahead of the game on that. When you look at this sheet, you'll find those bullet points for FY17 budgeted versus actual spending. We have some variances here. The first one is about athletic, over-allocated by 31.5K, mainly due to the scorers table and some equipment purchases. And also we have reconditioning of football equipment costs. So there was a memo sent to school committee in June of 2017. So fees have not increased, but costs have. So which caused the athletic revolving account cannot absorb all the increase in the costs. UniPay online payment, we started using that in 2017 for collecting the fees. The good news is out of the 28,000 outstanding at the end of the school year, we collected over 27K. So the collection is better with the online payment. It seems the parents, they love this method more than checks and cash payments. Overall, the total operating cost of athletics did not show a deficit, and the 31.5K was transferred from general supplies and SPED programs with other districts. So you can see that 10.8K from general supplies and 20.7K from SPED programs. And second one is educational materials textbooks for all the 3 schools.
Actually, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Catalano.
On athletics, we had enough. Jody, this is whether you take one and pass it down. I'm going back. I apologize. I'm going back to the 629. I'm going back to my 629 notes. I don't recall. I believe we determined on 629 that there was enough money within the total, both the operating budget and the revolving account in athletics, that we could cover the cost. I don't recall at that meeting voting transfers of general supplies and SPED to go into athletics. we had enough money within the budget, and I recall, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I recall Mark walking us through where the money, it was allocations between the two funds. We had enough money, so I don't know why we needed to pull in 31,500 from other line items when we had enough money between both the operating budget and the revolving account to cover what was perceived in mid-June as a deficit. So, I understand that there was a document that was produced that talked about this, but when we left that meeting, we had a discussion because this total operating cost was not available to us prior to the packet being produced. So I'm not sure what happened, and if we had enough money, why are we taking money out of general supplies or sped to cover athletics when athletics, we shouldn't be taking money from sped to cover athletics?
Yeah, I feel
Never.
like we didn't, we ended up not doing that.
It was
It
on,
was proposed, right. It was
But-
proposed, and I think we had a lengthy discussion and determined that we, like you said, that we didn't need to.
and
I'm trying to remember what the other account was that,
I'm looking at it right, general supplies. and
no,
programs
the
doesn't-
other athletics.
We have enough money. I mean,
Right, there was another, I don't have my budget. I don't have my budget book. So,
Because if I recall, I'm going back to June 29th, I recall, I'll speak for myself, I said I would not support.
right, I
I
remember
would
that.
absolutely not
conversation.
support, and I still do not support,
Yeah.
and if we did that, it was a problem, spending money
I
from
think we did.
sped
Right,
to put it in athletics.
yeah. I agree with your recollection, I remember that discussion. I don't believe we ended up approving a transfer.
I don't have
June 29th?
But
I don't have the notes from the motions. I don't know if we had a secretary that night or if,
I imagine we'll have to go back.
I have,
And for June 29th, is that?
I have, so those meeting minutes probably would have been approved. They probably would have showed up in the October or the August 29th.
I have the June 29th meeting minutes.
Is it the same night we did the whole list of transfers?
We had two different meetings. I
Yeah.
think we had two meetings, we talked about it
That's
at
the one
once.
that's on.
That's
Where
this
we
one?
did the
No, the one that Nancy.
June 20th is this one.
June 29th is when we had this discussion. We
This is
started-
June 29th.
I do have the backup for the June 29th meeting.
Yeah, and that backup was produced ahead of when we had this schedule,
Right,
and we used the
so-
schedule to have a conversation that night.
And so that night we approved fourth quarter transfers.
Yeah, I
But
have
the
the
tra-
note.
but the transfers themselves aren't,
And general supplies, transfer to athletic.
but I do remember us
Did we-
finding
I don't have it,
The money
an
was there.
athletic line
I
item
don't have it
that was
crossed off.
in the, it was another line item for athletics that had money. That
was proposed, I
alleviated the
just
need to
don't know
have to pull anything.
We ended up doing it.
What I would suggest, Madam Chair,
Yes,
is tabling
Yeah.
this
I would agree with that,
discussion
yes.
until we can do a little more research on that.
Yep.
This one obviously was printed today, but it'd be, I don't recollect when this was, the date this was
That was sent
created
to everyone on June 27th.
from us, from
No,
April.
No, from Steve.
I did the work and I sent it to the
So
committee.
these
On the
numbers, we
wanna say-
would have to go back, we would have to go back and match with our numbers for FY17 as well.
Well, they came from, you produced reports for me the week before, a couple weeks before, and I used those.
Right.
Sent them
But as
to,
we talked before, those are not the real final numbers. When we give you guys the June, like June 20th, around that time, the year hasn't been closed yet.
so unless they dramatically change, but what I do remember, regardless of final numbers, is that I was not supportive of spending sped to cover a perceived deficit in athletics. That should not happen. And we had a discussion that night, and the numbers, I don't know if the numbers are off.
Yeah, so I think to the superintendent's point, I think let's table this to the next time we meet and do some additional research. Because.
And to be clear, it's
yeah.
not special education costs in district. The line item is out-of-district tuitions for students going to other programs with other districts for special education costs, so that when we have savings in those areas, it's because we've, well, it can be for various reasons. A student may have moved, a student may have come back in district. Whatever the savings are, it's a tuition savings, it's not special education services savings. So,
And I do recall having that conversation, and if I'm remembering correctly, I think that we had some discussion around
Prepay.
using that special ed program with other district savings still under some sort of special ed umbrella. So being able to keep special ed savings inside of kind of the special ed costs. So being able to use that money elsewhere within special ed. So I do think we ended up with a solution that didn't require that transfer. So, as you said, we'll table it for tonight, we'll do some research, and we will revisit. We didn't have anything to vote on for that tonight, did we? We won't vote tonight, we do.
it was actually just a report provided to you that, from the end of your report, the actuals column for your budget books.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano?
I know we're tabling the discussion, but what I would request is that the business manager look at the schedule that was handed out for athletics and ensure that all of the highest priority is making sure FY17 is up to date and matches. 16, 15, and 14, and 13 I think are fine, but 17 should be updated because, so I would ask that prior to having any discussion is that we would have that updated as well, or as part of the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
I just found the meeting, the minutes from June 29th.
Yeah.
I have it here.
Oh, we
I
were
have
just looking
them.
at them.
There. It says at least the one I'm reading, says that we approve the fourth quarter transfers as presented.
That was in the fourth quarter transfer.
Right. And Carrie had a schedule that was the fourth quarter transfer, which mirrored what we just looked at. So now I'm just going to go see if I can quickly.
I have a copy of both the meetings and of those minutes.
The question remains, if we have the money to cover a perceived deficit in athletics, why are we bringing other money in? That, I understand, Mark, I saw that, but we had a full discussion down in a working session that it's clear that there's disconnects between what we're talking about and we need to do a better job of cleaning up, especially around money transfers or directions on.
So at that time, we noted that there was 28,000 in fees still owed. I'm not sure if that's part of it, but.
No, it was, this schedule has not changed, so this schedule as is, if 28,000 extra came in, that would be money above and beyond. This was based on information that I received in late June.
In June. So
Late
April,
June.
when do you, right up through the middle of July, you are still processing and the budget isn't, FY17 budget isn't closed until approximately when?
After we did all the accruals, like encumbrances for the town. So that's like mid to late July.
But the micro budget sheets for the operating budget is as budgeted. I wasn't basing it on what we spent, it was what was budgeted. The sheets that you provided. I wasn't basing on what accruals were made, it was based on what was budgeted. Now granted, there could be some variances at the end.
I think Nancy's point is, we still keep spending until that time.
Right.
Until, not end of June, but July.
No, I know, but this is based on what is budgeted, not what is spent. We budget, we have a budget at the beginning of the
Yes.
year.
So what I would suggest is to go back through your records and maybe add a column to see how, when the budget closes in July, how that differs from what is on this sheet. And we'll take a look at that.
Yes.
And
Sure.
then perhaps a representative could come in and walk through that with the business manager and myself, or the budget subcommittee, or, however you want to handle that. But we'll do the research. And
I think we should do it in this meeting or in a working session. I don't think we should have to have a budget. We don't have a budget subcommittee. Budget subcommittee was disbanded several years ago because we wanted to do things not as a small group, but as a big group. So either in a working session or here. I'm not supportive of having something on a sidebar. We can have a sidebar discussion, but the conversation should be done here, either on camera or in a working session.
Yeah, so we can,
So I think
so we'll have sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I think the crux of the initial discussion is because the reality is, whatever we took votes on is what should have been acted on. So if what was acted on is the votes we took, it is what it is.
Right.
Whatever other discussions we had,
Yeah.
if we took votes based on presented documents,
Yep.
then if that's what was executed on, then it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no mention in either the 20th, June 20th or 29th of this issue. So,
so I was just looking at these. So the
It would be on the 20th.
it would be.
The document was not produced for the 20th.
So, but we had a lot of discussion on the 20th because we didn't vote it on. We talked about it on the 20th. We didn't vote it on the 20th. We put it on the 29 agenda. So the lots, and I'm only recollecting that by looking at the meeting minutes. So to Mark's point, we have the meeting minutes and it says as presented, so we approved the as presented transfers
So we need to
at
locate.
6:29.
Right, so we need
So-
to locate the as presented
For the
schedule.
6:29,
'Cause
schedule for the 6:29
Which I,
meeting.
which I believe after going through some emails, I think it was a handout, it wasn't sent in advance.
Okay,
So we just
Okay.
need to ensure we have whatever that handout was.
okay. So I can go back.
So I have these two, but this is also dated 6/29, and this one does not have a date. I can go back and see
Yeah, and we can.
when this was produced.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I think we would have, so I think we voted something that it was a transfer from to. So I feel like it was something that looked like that. This, I don't know what's going where. Do you know what I mean? On this
Right.
one, so as presented, so this
Right.
looks more like an as presented version.
Right.
So, so if we come up with the 6:29 as presented transfers.
We'll check the date on this
Okay.
one, the fourth quarter. It says the title is fourth quarter additional transfers.
Yep.
And it does show programs with other
Yeah, it
districts
shows exactly what.
to athletic services, but I'll
Yeah.
check the date on that document.
Okay. And then, so we'll locate the transfers handout from the 6:29 meeting, update the fiscal year 17 athletics schedule. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, just as a side note, anytime we're talking about a program that has both revolving account and operating budget funding sources, we should look at them not as individual silos, we should look at them in the total operating cost. This is something that we have been trying to normalize for years, that when we're having a discussion about athletics, or food services, or anything else that where we, kindergarten, preschool, that we look at it from a total operating cost, not as just operating budget or revolving account. They have to be looked at in the same way.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. April.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, April.
Thanks for those minutes, Nancy.
Yeah, I had sent you those in an email, but
Oh,
no, it's okay. I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't have copies for
No.
everyone.
Okay. Have anything else in the superintendent's report?
No, thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Rice, subcommittee reports for the elementary school building committee. If you've been anywhere near Clyde Brown or the middle high school, you've seen the work that started right before Thanksgiving and has continued. This Friday at 9:30 will be the groundbreaking ceremony. So we will welcome the community, state representatives, the MSBA, and town boards to come help celebrate the official shovel in the ground, along with the children of Clyde Brown and the staff from the Clyde Brown School. So very much looking forward to that. Want to thank both the superintendent and Jody for all of their work in putting that together, from programs to invitations to all of the logistics. So, and John Engler as well. So thank you all for all of your help with that. We're hoping for a little bit of good luck with the weather, and that we won't make people stand out in the cold. We shall see. But exciting times over there, and I know that there have been a lot of classroom activities around the new school project, so one of my children happens to be in the middle school, and they actually went out and did a writing project on as the trees were coming down. I was fortunate enough for someone to forward me a poetry reading from the 4th grade poetry night at Clyde Brown, where one of the students wrote a poem about the fury of the trees, of how they sound as they're coming down. So it's great to see the staff kind of embracing it and bringing the kids into the process with their in-class projects. So I look forward to Friday and all that comes after it. Correspondence now, or you want to do the?
I did neglect to mention, as Josh did mention, tomorrow is release day, a half-day release day, and in all 3 buildings we're developing and finalizing learner profiles. At the middle high school level, students will be using Google Forms to complete their questionnaires and learner profiles. We've been for years gathering information on student interests, aspirations, passions, learning style, how the modes of expression as well as modes of learning, and we're now formalizing it and making it across the board 100% all teachers, all students, and it's very good work that staff is very excited about, gathering the information so that they can better meet the needs of students in our personalized learning initiative. So that's happening tomorrow.
Excellent.
And then we do have in your packet also dates, school committee dates for consideration.
So one of the things the superintendent and I spoke about was December 19th, we have a conflict with the town tri-board meeting. So there is an item we'd like to hold a public school committee meeting on, albeit brief. So we were going to propose a 6:30 to 7 school committee meeting on the 19th and then move to the tri-board meeting at 7, if that works for folks. Tri-board meeting, we believe, is going forward as planned. There was some discussion at the initial meeting that it may be delayed, but we won't know that until sooner, closer to the date. So we wanted to plan for a 6:30 meeting if we can do it. We would do it somewhere in town hall so that we could just move from a room in town hall to the tri-board meeting room. And then
we'll request a room over at town hall.
Okay, the meeting, I've already posted December's meeting for 7:30 start date here, so you want me to change it to a 6:30 to 7 date?
yes, please. Yes, please. And then while we're at it, can you post a 7 meeting as part of the tri-board? Because we'll likely have a quorum at that. And we'll let you know if that changes, Jody. Thank you. And then Superintendent also brought up that the first day back at school after the holiday break, we are scheduled to have the middle school personalized learning showcase. And I think Superintendent and Principal Knowlton were talking and saying if it's possible, if we could move that to the 9th to give the students some time to prep before they come. So they're not coming right off the break and coming here that night. So we'd go the 9th and then the 16th, a working session for budget. So that would a budget working session that night. So we'd like to make that change. And then for the 2nd, Jody, if you could make a note, can we add a working session to the 2nd to talk about capital planning?
Yeah, so are you gonna have 3 meetings?
Oh, I'm sorry, not the 2nd, the 9th. I'm sorry. It'll be 9th and 16th in January. So 2nd won't happen.
Okay, so then the 1/9, which will be the working.
It'll be a on-camera standard meeting. It'll be the middle school personalized learning, the same way it is on the schedule right now. And then can we add a working session to the 9th?
To that, and then another one on 16th.
And then the 16th will stay as is, as the budget working session. Yes, please. That'd be great. Thank you. I think that's it for schedule
Thank you.
changes so far. Correspondence? No.
I did not bring.
So we did receive. I'll read it. Everyone in their purple folder has a copy of a letter that we did get from a resident to the superintendent, and the school committee was also sent the same letter, so we all have it in our packets, just with feedback from one of the abutters to the Clyde Brown School project, sharing their concern with messaging around the type of activities for the trees that was going on leading up to Thanksgiving. So the information that the superintendent provides via listserv or any other staff member provides via listserv related to the project comes from our project management team. So it is our goal to provide everybody with the most thorough and accurate amount of information, but the information that was relayed was exactly what we were told. I think we were all pleasantly surprised at the amount of work that was happening, but definitely surprised that there was so much tree work that was happening so quickly. So it certainly was not anticipated, but we will be sure to continue to let the public know. I will remind folks that the ESBC, so the Elementary School Building Committee, will be posting 2-week look-aheads. So what those are it's updates with the schedule of what's happening for the next 2 weeks. So we make sure that those will get posted on the school website. They are on the town website. They will be on Facebook. So we would encourage folks to just check those avenues as well.
Madam Chair, if I might add, there are weekly safety meetings as well that the project team has, as well as just our working group meetings. So any information that is pertinent during those meetings, we will try to get out to the public as well.
Any school committee announcements?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano?
I think it is, I'm not sure exactly, I looked at it, but I didn't have my policy book. I think we as a committee have to acknowledge what's going on in the outside world and make sure that our Title IX policy is up to date. And specifically, I think obviously that will be done in consultation with legal counsel. I don't know if there's a model policy, but specifically about how crimes are investigated, harassment. So Title IX talks about sexual harassment and has everything from inappropriate comments to rape and sexual assault. And so I think there needs to be lines drawn on what is investigated by administrators and what is investigated by criminal justice officials. I think that, or at least have the conversation, and what's best practice and what's industry standard around that. So I think it's time for us to take a look at our Title IX procedures and ensure that they're up to date, corresponding with any sort of new case law, and the fact that, and we address the issues and concerns about how crimes are investigated, how harassment and crimes. I know that they group them all under one umbrella, but there are distinctions under that umbrella of what is typical harassment versus criminal activity. So I want to make sure that we are up to date and that everyone is covered, students and staff and faculty, that we all have a clear outline on what we need to do and ensure and address any and all issues that come up.
Madam Chair, actually, the administrative team has started this work. Sue Ann, Dr. Marks, and I have been to separate workshops around the changes in Title IX this year, one hosted by the Accept Collaborative and one hosted by a legal firm. Our Title IX procedures are in our sexual harassment policy in the policy book, and it's, as you know, there have been some proposed changes to that our administrative team is updated on, and the proposal is to get some further clarification and have legal counsel, our legal counsel look at our sexual harassment policy, which is very lengthy and is one of those policies that has policy and procedures combined. So we're in the process of looking to disentangle those and have policy and then procedures. But I just wanted the committee to know that we are aware and have started the discussion, and it is, I think you're correct, it is time to review the sexual harassment policy and update it.
Thank you.
Sure.
To that end, do we review certain policies on a regular basis? Is there a...
No.
No? Okay.
We have not
Because I know we get...
taken that step.
We do, I know we do by virtue of when there's a change and there's a requirement, then we update the policy. I don't know what is standard from a policy review perspective.
If we could find $20,000, it would be awesome to bring in a consultant to revamp everything. And that's really, it is a time-consuming and...
I totally understand that. I'm wondering if there are, and there are groups. So there's the superintendent's group, there's the school committee members group.
We could do a lot of it on our own.
And not even that I want us to like undertake that task of doing a full policy review, but are there 5, 10, 2, 1 policies? So like you bring up Title IX tonight. Are there other ones that we should be
the other thing,
taking a look at?
It's not necessarily, well, depends on how you look. It's not crime related, but actually it dawned on me because we were talking at home that middle school report cards are coming out. And so our athletic eligibility is right now, it's in the high school handbook, but not in the middle school handbook. But our middle school 7th and 8th graders are playing high school sports. And secondly, in the discussions over standard-based report cards versus A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's, the current policy says you can't fail one class. So while the 7th and 8th graders all have letter grades right now, if and when we shift to a standard-based, either we will need to determine what a failing standard is.
Yeah, grade or number.
Right. Or we're going to have to adopt the policy to understand what that new metric is. And then leading that is, I know currently our policy is more strict than the MIAA's.
Yes.
But the MIAA's, I would think, unless they're in standard-based reporting mode, is a policy based on letter grades.
Sure.
So following all that is an area we probably should look at in making sure that...
Madam
Because
Chair?
I'm still sort of new. Do we have a list of policies and a date of when they were last revised?
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, we've looked at this in starts and stops. The first section is the school committee, which kind of outlines how we operate and what we do.
Yeah.
We could do that without a consultant, right? There's enough model policies out there, and in fact, it's not Masco, it's MASC. Masco over in Longwood. MASC
Right.
actually has on its website, there are, I think, the last time I looked, 8 to 10 schools that have model policies, legit policies, not just drafts.
Right.
We could do some sections of that. I think that's a great conversation to talk about in our strategic planning session, when the school committee meets next, to talk about the planning for the school committee. So, but we do it when we need to do it.
Right.
But we do need to address some of them.
Yeah, and it's really trying to figure out. So.
It can be done.
Yeah, and I think it's not like attacking the whole policy book. It's a plan to work our way through it at some point, but
Right.
what are things that we're worried about, right? So what are things that we might have some concern about, what you might have some concern about, and see if there's a way that we might be able to at least knock those off or
Sure.
update those. Okay. I do have to figure out when we get to talk. Maybe we could do it at the same time. Okay. School committee announcements. Ms. Roach,
I have none.
Mr. Conroy,
But
Mr. Catalano. Any old or new business? Okay. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Conroy.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We will meet again at Town Hall on the 19th.